Hello and welcome. We are going to be working through this problem here. I'm going to move that onto its own page so that we can get started from scratch. There's still a lot of stuff in here, but we're going to do all of it over again. So we're just going to erase all this good stuff. Uh, and oh my goodness, see how it came to be in a separate run here. So let's break our problem space down here. The first thing we're going to do is take just these sort of overarching lines that we know happen at the start of our program, and they only happen once, and they each are worth one step. So we can start by just saying that lines 1 and 2 total 2 steps, so that we don't sort of lose the thread on those. Okay. Then when we're looking at nested for loops, it's really important that we start from the inside and work our way out. So let's start with this inner one right here. The first thing we're going to want to do is we are going to want to ask ourselves for lines 3 to 7. Oh, not 3, sorry. 5 to 7. How many steps in one iteration? All right, so we can see we have +1, +1, +1. So lines 5, 6, and 7, total 3 steps. We also want to make sure that we don't forget that there will be that extra +1 when while is false. +1 on line 5 when while is false. So that's going to come in at the end. Okay, so the next thing we need to now do is determine how many times our loop is actually going to run. So if we imagine for a second that we can let j be greater than or equal to 0 and it's fixed, we can consider that inner loop for lines 5 to 7. And starting at line 4, we can see that the initial value of k is going to be starting at j, and then it counts up by ones, which we can see on line 7. So the loop condition right here on line 5 evaluates to true for j plus 1, for j plus 2, for j plus 3, all the way up to, but not including n. So all the way up to n minus 1. So every single one of these values of j, we know that lines 5, 6, and 7 are going to be executing, equaling that total of 3. So let's write this down with that summation. We can say that we know that k starts at j, and we can do that because our outer loop is going to reference j shortly, and it goes up to and including n minus 1, right? Because this goes up to but not including n. Okay, so then this is going to be 3. We can factor that 3 out. This is going to look like this. And now we can use our summation identity where we do this minus this plus 1. These are going to cross each other out. We end up with 3n minus 3j. And of course, we don't want to forget that extra +1. So for the inner loop, 3n minus 3j plus 1 steps are executed. All right, we have our inner loop all finished. The next thing that we're going to look at is this outer loop. So we're looking at here, here, and here, but it's also worth noting that we also are going to consider this as part of the outer loop because it does happen every single time. So that was 3n minus 3j plus 1. Okay, so now we've got a +1 here, a +1 here, a +1 here. We're going to add that false +1 right here for later. And we don't want to forget that we have this whole term that we have to consider as well. So when we go down to step 3, we can look and we can see that lines, what are they, 3 to 8? Yep. Lines 3 to 8 have a total step count of 1 for line 3, 1 for line 4, 3n minus 3j plus 1 for lines 5, 6, and 7, and 1 for line 8, which is going to total 3n minus 3j plus 4. So that's going to be the total step count for one iteration. So this is one iteration of the outer loop. Okay, so now we're going to try and figure out how we're going to be able to put that inside the sigma. How many times does this execute? Let's just add that all there and in place. Okay, so how many times does this execute? Well, let's see if we can sort of figure that out. So from line 2, we know that j is supposed to start at n minus 1, and from line 8, we know that j is counting down by 1 each time. So the loop condition here on line 3, I'm going to go look at this, right, tells us that it's going to be true when j is n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, all the way until j is equal to 0. Lines 3, 4, and 8, and the lines 5 to 7, as we've highlighted, as well as this, all execute each time. So we've got our number of iterations there. So we now know that the total number of steps that are going to happen in this iteration are j equals 0 to n minus 1 steps. So let's go ahead and add that in right here. J equals 0 to n minus 1. All right, armed with this information, we're going to do some factoring out to help our situation. Now, a reminder that we did factor out, we haven't done it in this one yet. Okay, so we can rewrite this as follows. Imagine for a second what this 3n actually means when you're in here, and we're basically saying that we have to keep adding 3n over and over and over again n times. A reminder that 0 to n minus 1 is the same as like 1 to n, so that's n terms. So if we do 3n times n times, we're going to end up with 3n squared. And that's just an important thing to be able to hopefully see, because if we can see that, we can understand why we can do something like this. All right, let's break each term out individually. J equals 0 to n minus 1, 3n minus j equals 0 to n minus 1, 3j plus j equals 0 to n minus 1 of 4. Let's look at each of these terms individually. Let's start with this one. If we factor the 3n out, we'll end up doing something like this, which we know is equal to 3n times n minus 1 minus 0 plus 1, and we will get that 3n squared value. Let's next look at this one, where we'll do the same thing. We'll factor out that 3. Don't forget there's a minus there, so I'm just going to add it in so that we don't lose it as we go. This is going to be equal to n times n plus 1. So here our n is n minus 1 times n plus 1, which will be n minus 1 plus 1 over 2, which is going to be minus 3 n times n minus 1 over 2. And I'll just leave it like that for right now. That's fine. We don't have to break it down any further than that. And have I done purple yet? Nope. We can do purple for this last one here, where we pull that 4 out. J equals 0 to n minus 1. There we go. And 1. And we can do the same thing. So we'll have 4 n minus 1 minus 0 plus 1. These cancel out. This will just be 4n. So now we have this these lines 3 to 8 all together. So we can combine them all together for this step. So the outer loop runs 3n squared plus, no, we have that minus 3n minus 1 over 2 plus 4n times plus 1 when line 3 is false. Can't forget about that extra one. I know we all want to. So we end up with 3n squared minus 3 and minus 1 all over 2 plus 4n plus 1. Okay, the last thing that we do have to do now is stick all of this together. So we have this term that is now representative of, scroll all the way up to the top here, this bad boy right here. Pew, make that smaller, stick it right there. So the only thing we're missing now is to also include that extra plus 2 that has to come in. So all the way down at the bottom, we're going to combine all of this together, and we're going to say that f of n is going to be equal to that original 2 plus that outer loop. Just write it all out. And of course, I'm being very explicit in this because I'm going to have to simplify this a tiny little bit by saying that this is equal to this many steps. 2 plus 4n plus 3. So that is the total step count for our original function. Okay, hopefully we can sort of follow along and see what we did there. A reminder, it was important for us to really understand why it was okay to hold on, in this one up here, why it was okay for me to pull the entire 3n out and just leave a 1, as opposed to what I do in other situations like this one, where we leave a j. So understanding the difference between this n and why it can be pulled out versus this j and why it cannot be pulled out is really important to be able to sort of master this technique and be able to solve these problems on your assignments and beyond. Awesome. I have a few more videos coming about this stuff, so be sure to check them out if you are looking for more practice. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.